Yo, what is going on guys, Cash and Clean here, and for today's video I just wanted to give you guys some tips and tricks and just some of my knowledge of how to get to rank 1 mastery or power rank for Trove. Now I'm not going to make this like a super in-depth guide or anything, I just want to give you guys some tips, some of the knowledge, some of the things that I went through. It's not like it's a super fast journey or anything, not like you can get it done overnight type thing, but if you guys do keep at it then you guys can definitely get to rank 1, because if I can do it then you guys can definitely do it. Whenever I set my mind to a certain goal I try to achieve that goal, and that goes for any games that I play for, and that goes for anything IRL as well. But we're here to talk about Trove. So when I first got into Trove, I didn't really have any goals of reaching rank 1 mastery or powering for that matter, because it just seemed really impossible at the time. Now I did try to collect some things, I did try to get some power rank up. I mainly just wanted to get one class to farm with, and then maybe a second class to farm with, maybe a physical damage set, a magic damage set, whatever the case may have been. And then sometimes I would play for events, get those mastery items. Maybe there'd be something that could help me with my power rank there, because if you didn't know, getting to 500 Trove Mastery gets you some power rank and damage. And when I first started back in 2016, there was no geode. This was back over on console, and then later in 2019 I started on PC, so I had to restart my entire journey. That was super annoying, super demotivating, but I did go through it. I did not like having to restart because I had some pretty good progress on my PlayStation account, so it was pretty sad that I couldn't transfer all of that over. But as I was grinding on my PC account, I met some very nice people along the way. Those of you that have helped me, you know who you are. You guys are amazing. I wouldn't have gotten to this point without you guys. And as I was farming, as I was doing my usual Trove grind, as I got closer doing my dragons, finishing up my badges, or anything else that I may have needed, I ended up just starting to look for things that I was just missing in Trove. So like at a certain point for my badges, I noticed that I had like dungeons completed, I had my days logged in, finished. There were like a bunch of little things, so like I had to do some fishing, I had to do some blocks destroyed. Seemed like a super tedious and annoying job, but I had to go through it anyway, and so I figured I would just start on that and get some progress done at least, because making any little bit of progress is better than doing no progress at all. And I was just constantly just setting smaller goals to set for myself, because I knew that each step of the way it would bring me one step closer to max mastery. Now even at that point I still wasn't going for rank 1 mastery, but I figured if I was collecting everything I was going to get closer and closer at some point. My initial goal was to get to top 1200 mastery, because at the time, if you guys don't know, the PC Club Alpha Legacy, that's the one that I really wanted to get into the most, because the requirements seem pretty tough, and I thought that if I would go into this club then I would get a ton of help with like shadow towers and just a bunch of knowledge from these guys, because they seem like they've been in the game for a super long amount of time, and I thought I would just meet some cool people in that club as well. And overall it just seemed like a pretty good goal to hit. It wasn't quite rank 1, but top 1200 was pretty good as well. Very hard to get into. Obviously the requirements have changed a lot since back then, but I'm just kind of painting you guys a picture of like what I kind of went through, so that maybe you guys can do something similar if that's what you want to get towards. And like I was talking about, if you do look at the big pictures and make your goals super big of reaching rank 1 mastery or power rank, and that's the only focus that you have, you're just gonna get burnt out super quick. You're gonna end up quitting, you're gonna end up losing interest in the game, and it's overall just not gonna be as fun. It's gonna feel like a chore, and I'm gonna kind of get into this later, because me currently having max mastery, every time there's a new event, a new update, I always have to try to get as much done day 1, as much done day 2, and then I have to put out content for you guys so you guys know what's going on with this update. But I'm not gonna say that I hate it. It's not necessarily like a bad thing, but I guess it just depends on how you guys look at it. Like, yeah, it can be annoying at sometimes, but that's just kind of what you get into when you sign up for Trove. But anyway, as I was saying, just try to set some smaller goals. So like, I don't know, maybe do your gardening badge, work on some of the professions that you still gotta finish, maybe grind out some XP. There's some ships out there, you can join the ship chat. If there's no ships, maybe you can do your adventures quests. I have a bunch of XP guides so you can check that out if you really need to. If you're really dedicated, I would recommend just making a list of things to do on each day. You can make like a spreadsheet for yourself with certain things that you can work on. And an example of this would just be like, I don't know, maybe do your dailies, do your qubits, make sure you get your weeklies done. If you go to the power rank area in the hub, you can get your daily block of elements from the NPC. If you're like super dedicated, you can set like an alarm for every hour to do your hourly coin challenges, just so you can get your dragon coins done. You can get your effort coins for that one mount that I talked about with the flying Renewus or whatever that was called. I don't think it was called Renewus, but it was something like that. Some flying machine. I really have no idea, but you guys get the point. It's really easy to forget what you want to work on for specific days, so that's why making the list helps out. And if you do feel like you have to grind every single day for like a certain amount of hours or whatever, you really don't have to. Don't be afraid to skip a couple days if you really want to. If you want to take a break, play other games, focus on school, whatever the case may be, just do that. Focus on your IRL. Health is important. Make sure your IRL situation is good, and if you really feel like it, then you can just play Trove. But sometimes you might not benefit from farming stuff like on Thursdays, for example, because that's like what, adventuring. Maybe you don't want adventuring. And then there's like what, Sundays you get extra magic find and like flux artifacts. If you really don't want that, I don't really care for that stuff anymore. So if those are like the type of days you want to skip out on, then you can definitely do that. Just make sure that you are grinding for what you need on specific bonuses. So like Dragon Coins, do those on Fridays because you get that bonus, and then Patron obviously really helps out with the extra little bit that you get from it. Maybe you can get some Shadow Shard farming done for the Mondays, or you can make progress with your gems on Gem Day, which is Wednesday, anything like that. And if you do happen to miss out on like a Wednesday, for example, I know Wednesdays are super handy, super helpful. If you miss one Wednesday out of the whole week or out of the whole year or something, then it's not the end of the world. There's gonna be plenty of other Wednesdays that come by. Maybe you can just like prepare your gems, prepare your boxes, and then once Wednesday rolls around, then you can start upgrading them, looting them, whatever the case may be, whatever you want to. I have guides for all of this, by the way, so if you want to check those out, you can. The next thing that I do want to get into is like newer updates and events. So if you are like a casual player, then don't really worry too much on going ham on these events where you're going to need a bunch of credits for packs and just farming the older mastery items in general, as well as the newer ones as well. It's going to feel like a pretty big chore, but events usually last 2 weeks, so you do have a decent amount of time. And newer updates are going to be around forever unless it's like a time-gated update, kind of like the Bamboo Dragon. Then you want to try to get that done as soon as possible, but just manage your time wisely. Just don't spend like, I don't know, 80 hours with like no sleep. Don't do any of that stuff. I remember when the Paragon update dropped and we had to get a bunch of XP, all those levels. A couple of my friends and I, we farmed so much for an entire week. I think the update came out on Tuesday, and then by Sunday I was all done, and then my friends right after got theirs all done as well. Again, I have to say massive shoutouts to my friends because they helped me out a ton on my journey. And I'm sure that you guys are going to meet a bunch of cool people as well. You can farm along with them. Maybe you both need like a certain mastery item that you need to farm for, so you guys can farm together. Maybe perma torches, whatever the case may be. But when I was farming those Paragon levels, I think I stayed up for 48 hours for some point during the week. I don't really remember which days. I do not recommend doing that at all. I just wanted to get the update done and over with so I could play other games and do other stuff. But yeah, don't follow in my footsteps. But anyway, as I was saying, if you do want to take things seriously though with events and all that stuff, then what you want to do is collect everything that you need for these events before the time runs out. So it's what, 2 weeks? You'll just have to make sure that you have enough flux to get credit pouches, or if you're going with the pay to win strat, then you can buy the credits, but I don't recommend that. You will need a lot of credits, like it's a ridiculous amount of credits, and it doesn't help that the prices are just continuously going up. Maybe one day that'll change, but at the moment it's like super expensive. But you'll just have to make sure that you're on top of those things. And then we got things like Dragon Coins, Chaos Cores. I know that those take forever, trust me, I was in your guys' position. I hated farming those because it felt like impossible, and now I have endless amounts of them. At some point you will end up like me where you have a bunch of them where you don't need them anymore. Something that did help me out was the Frosty event and the Skelly Boxes event, which was the Halloween and Winter events. They did get rid of the Skelly Boxes for the last Halloween. Hopefully the Frosties stay around because those are super helpful. Basically you get a bunch of Dragon Coins, some Chaos Chests, some Gem Booster Boxes, Diamond Dragonite, a bunch of other things. It's a really OP box. I do have a video where I opened up a stack of those, and then I think I made another one where I opened 15,000 of those, just if you want to see what you get from those boxes. Now when new updates do drop, don't let that demotivate you from your journey. The update isn't going to go anywhere unless it is time gated like I talked about, but for the most part, it shouldn't distract you from what you're currently working on. I know that there's so many things in this game and that they just keep adding more and more things, but just take your time, slow down, do things one at a time. And then when you're able to, you can start adding more to your plate past the plate style. If you know, you know. Shoutouts to Disney Channel. I think it was Disney Channel. Hopefully one of you guys get the reference. If not, then you guys are probably going to think I'm on drugs or something. But anyway, the last thing that I did want to mention is just have fun. Now, I know that's easier said than done, but when you sign up for Trove, you may have seen someone play it. Maybe you encountered this game in some way. You tried it out, it seems pretty fun, the idea of it seems pretty cool, so just stick with that because it is a pretty fun game, and I know that there's a lot to the game, but if you just take things one at a time like I have been talking about, I know that you guys can reach your goals and make it to the top or wherever you want to in the game. With that being said, I'm curious on what you guys think in the comments down below if you have any tips for newer players, endgame players, or mid-game players. If you guys do want to see this collab that I did with XUC, you can check out the